The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you and your family. This Week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. First today, the changes helping Northern Kentucky create jobs. The jobless rate in Northern Kentucky is really low right now by just about any standard. The overall unemployment rate in Kenton, Boone, and Campbell counties is 3.2%. That compares to 3.6% for the Cincinnati metro area, still low, and 3.8% nationally. So joining us to talk about all of that is Brent Cooper. He is the president and CEO of the Northern Kentucky Chamber of Commerce. Welcome back to This Week in Cincinnati. We know you've been here before, and we appreciate your time.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure.
So the unemployment rate, that sounds like it's such a great thing that, you know, we're almost at 0% unemployment. That sounds fantastic, but it's not always that great.
It's tough sometimes on employers who are trying to find talent, and talent attraction and retention is a big deal for the Northern Kentucky Chamber and for the entire Northern Kentucky region these days. So we're looking for ways to find talent and to grow talent. One of our new initiatives is growing regional outcomes through workforce, Grow NKY. We're starting to talk more about it. We're going to be debuting it next month, but it's a collaborative effort to try to address this issue. We've got short-term workforce challenges, and then we've got a long-term play as well.
What are the workforce challenges primarily? Is it, you know, are these hourly workers? Are these people who are factory workers? Are they white collar workers? What are you looking for primarily?
It runs the gambit. I mean, it's all spectrum. So we're doing extremely well in some top industry sectors. So advanced manufacturing, logistics and distribution. You know, we were within a day's drive of 2/3 of the U.S. population from right here. So logistics and distribution is a big deal. FedEx, UPS, DHL is a big employer in Northern Kentucky, and Amazon is a big employer now.
Huge,
and so logistics is a big deal. Healthcare is a growing segment. IT, finance, and construction. We're building things in Northern Kentucky, and so finding good, qualified construction workers is a big deal.
I have to wonder, because it seems to me like I know my kids are, you know, late teens, early 20s, and they all want to live in the urban core. They want to live downtown or somewhere interesting. They don't want to live in the suburbs. So is it important that Covington itself is like becoming, you know, they're putting in great looking housing and interesting restaurants and bars so that it does attract people? Is that important?
Yeah, I think the entire ecosystem works together. So we've got Covington and Ludlow and Bellevue and Dayton and Newport, all growing areas. We've got Fort Thomas and Fort Mitchell. We've got Florence and Independence, and you know they all really do work together to form a story. If you live in Covington, for example, you can walk to a Reds game, to a Bengals game. You've got all these amenities. And you're very close, 15 minutes to the airport where there's a ton of work. You're very close to manufacturing jobs in Boone County and right around Florence area. So there's all kinds of things that I think will contribute to a person's quality of life. And those are the stories we tell when we talk about talent attraction and retention. We have a high quality of life and a really low cost of living here in Northern Kentucky. One thing just to throw out, you know, somebody making $70,000, $80,000 in Northern Kentucky, to have the equivalent lifestyle, they need to be making $160,000 in LA or New York. That's the story we're telling, and so we're saying, look how many beers you can buy, look how many tickets you can buy to FC Cincinnati by living right here.
Where are you telling those stories outside of Northern Kentucky, outside of the tri-state area? Because I can imagine that a lot of kids are like, well, I want to go live in Denver, or you know, I want to live somewhere that has, you know, different, I don't know, it's just different. Yeah. So how do you get those folks from LA, from New York, from Florida to come here? Yeah,
so we're working with Source Cincinnati, we're working with the Greater Cincinnati Chamber of Commerce, as well as our tourism folks, the Regional Tourism Network, Meet NKY. We're working with folks to be out and about and to go strategically to those college sites, to other cities, but also to get our messaging out in newspapers and different media outlets to make sure people see firsthand the great things that are going on. And one of the things people are surprised to hear is, you know, the hotel demand in Northern Kentucky is 4 times the national average.
Is it really?
It's crazy.
Why is that?
Because we have all these great things right here. We just brought in 80,000 people or 100,000 people to the race this past weekend, the Kentucky Speedway. We've got a top 10 aquarium. We've got all these great things on both sides of the river. I mentioned some of the professional sports teams, but we have one of those cities that have all these arts and amenities. So these are the stories that we're telling people, so they will come to the Greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky region and then stay here.
Is it working?
It is working, and I think it will work more over time as we work collaboratively. That's part of what this effort is all about. Is we're working with Tri-County Economic Development, Triad, the Workforce Investment Board, Partnership Competitive Workforce, and United Way. We're bringing in all these partners to work together to try to grow talent and attract and retain folks once they're here.
Of course, you're always trying to develop and redevelop. So what is the next big development we could learn about?
Oh, the new development in Northern Kentucky? Well, I will say this, there are a lot of hotels coming.
Really?
I mentioned the hotel demand, and so you're going to see things popping up in Florence, in Newport. We're very excited to see some of those new developments coming. And we're going to, we've made a significant investment in infrastructure. So you're going to see new bridges, fixed bridges, hopefully a big one coming in the not too distant future. So you're going to see more of that, and I think that's going to lead to continued economic development. Transportation is a big part of any workforce issue. So you hear the Cincinnati Chamber and the Northern Kentucky Chamber constantly talking about transportation because we got to get people to work.
All right, you just threw something out there that I have to ask about.
Sure.
You said bridge, and there's a big bridge, the Brent Cooper Bridge, that desperately needs to be fixed, and Kentucky's actually been the stumbling block. Ohio has said, sure, fine, we'll do tolls. Is that what you're talking about? I'm
talking about that is part of the overall strategy, is to make sure our infrastructure is in place and working so that we can get workers from point A to point B. I don't have an announcement yet on the Brent Spence.
But is there a deal looming out there?
But we are working on it actively, so hopefully we will see something in the not too distant future.
Do you find our governor is amenable to this?
Yes.
Or your governor, the Commonwealth?
Yeah, Governor Bevin has spoken out repeatedly on this. He actually came up to Northern Kentucky and spoke to our Chamber of Commerce late last year. So it is something, it's a priority for him, it's a priority for his administration. So we're looking forward to seeing some things come out of it. We have a wonderful person in the House of Representatives, South Centura, who heads our transportation, and we know he's working on that issue amongst a whole slew. And we've done a pretty good job of getting more infrastructure dollars for Northern Kentucky this year, thanks to him and Judge Moore.
All right, Brent Cooper, President and CEO of the Northern Kentucky Chamber, thank you for coming in. We'll be following up with you.
Absolutely.
I can promise you that.